Where is it? Filters. Where's filters?
All right. And we should be live now. If everything went well. No BS. Big Pod, you are full screen for the audience. Let me go into grid mode. There we go. What the heck is going on with Jitsi? Stop it. What is wrong with Jitsi?
It's drunk. It's Easter Sunday. It's Easter Sunday. It's drunk.
Yeah, happy Easter for those of you that belong to any of the Eastern churches. Of course, the Western churches had Easter last Sunday.
Oh, Ben is here. Just sent him the link.
Yep.
Hi.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, good morning.
That doesn't sound like a good morning.
I was up at 8:14 this morning.
Don't you see him? He's still in bed.
I've been up since 5 a.m. because Easter Sunday. And when we get to me, I'm going to speak in a little bit of Greek, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Do, man.
I got my cup of McDonald's coffee. Someone in the chat mentioned that I probably went to McDonald's before the stream. It's like they know. I always go somewhere for breakfast before these just to get a cup of coffee.
All right, so right at the top of the stream, I do have an announcement to make.
All right.
Gen 2 announcement. Gen 2 announcement, probably.
No, actually not Gen 2. You see, what happened is, as usual, I tended to break the Linux distributions that's installed on my system. So I broke Gen 2. And like, well,
good job.
I need a Linux distribution to install. So rather than taking the dear sweet time to install Gen 2 for like
Ubuntu?
20th time this year, I installed Ubuntu.
Yeah,
and then I quickly uninstalled Ubuntu, and then I installed Ubuntu Mate, of which then I immediately broke.
It is so common. It is so common for these Gen 2 users when they finally get frustrated. They're like, man, I can't stand this. This is so much work. And then they just install Ubuntu. Well, why didn't you just install Ubuntu to begin with, huh, Big Pod?
Yeah. Well, you see, what I did was I enabled the Pipewire PPA because, I prefer using Pipewire for my audio system these days. Because the version of Pipewire that's in the Ubuntu repositories, for some reason, the Pipewire Pulse package is not actually starting, or there's some kind of an error with it. I didn't really investigate it too much because I just skipped it and went straight for the PPA. Well,
maybe
when I enabled that, I was also using Mozilla. I prefer using Pipewire for it, which proceeded to segfault, causing a kernel panic, which completely nuked the file system.
There is a reason.
There's a reason Pipewire. Playing with
Pipewire isn't enabled by default enough.
Well, you see, the funny thing is that now I'm talking to you guys on Gen 2, running a Pipewire, running a Firefox nightly build.
Well, there's also a reason why, like the rest of us that use normal distributions, we let Fedora go Wayland and Pipewire and all of that stuff because they get to work out all the bugs. They get to have all the problems. And once it's worked out, it'll come to Debian and Arch and, the real distros. I kid Fedora users, I kid. I'm going to get a hate mail now.
Well, at the end of the day, I am running Wayland on this laptop. I can say there is no worse experience than running Wayland.
Ooh. Are you running KDE or KDE?
And there are many, many, many problems, including stuff like you can't start a GUI program from terminal.
Yeah,
that is true.
Other crap like that. And it's horrible because I want to start VS Code from terminal and nothing happens.
Well, it's one of those things. I'm patient. But they started working on Wayland in like 2009. It's 2022, and this thing is still nowhere near ready.
I think it's the security by default mindset they're putting into Wayland that is the cause of like several headaches.
To it. They basically basically they made so many mistakes in that, and the problem is also who makes Wayland.
Oh,
If it would be
okay.
any other group of people, it's probably
Yeah.
A, be finished,
I was
and B, be better.
I was gonna say they should have been a lot more inclusive with bringing in other people to help with this massive thing.
Yeah, it's Red Hat, and their policy of if you have a Red Hat email, you get your pull request gets accepted. If you don't have a
Wayland included in the distro, it will set X11 as the default and let the users worry about Wayland if they want to.
there is an easy way to switch between in SDDM between X and Wayland. In the lower left corner, you select X11 instead of Wayland. Catch is I need Wayland because I have a touchscreen.
Yeah, but if you want to set X in that drop down, if you want to set X11 by default instead of having to switch to X11 yourself, to set it by default when Wayland
do
is
it once, and it does it for default.
Yeah, but for a distro builder like me, I have to edit sedm.conf, add this line. That way, on first boot, they will get X11 by default instead of Ubuntu. Just did that exact same thing yesterday.
Yes.
They had Wayland set by default. They went backwards and set X11 by default for Nvidia.
And I was surprised when I actually took a look at Ubuntu 22.04. I know it's GNOME, so GNOME defaults to Wayland, but I was surprised the Ubuntu team decided that because so many Nvidia users are going to have major problems.
As far as I know, their policy is that they do Wayland by default, except for all who can't run, because it automatically disables Wayland if you run Nvidia. So it will automatically clear that Nvidia. That's how it works in Ubuntu, because on my Nvidia laptop, Wayland wasn't ever present.
Yeah, this is what they did with yesterday's release.
Yesterday what they did, they specifically set as default for everybody X11.
XOR, yeah.
Normally, what they do is they have Wayland for Intel AMD users and X11 for Nvidia, which is an automatic thing that happens by the system because Nvidia and Wayland don't work together.
Yeah.
And it automatically detects you have Nvidia, so Wayland doesn't work.
And what I love is, when that bug report was filed yesterday or whenever, and then the Ubuntu team decided to default back to X11 instead of Wayland. A lot of people blame Ubuntu for these problems with Wayland because I was seeing people in comments and blogs and Reddit. And it's like, hey, this is Nvidia's fault. This has nothing to do with Canonical or Ubuntu, the problems that...
No, it's not only... You cannot blame only Nvidia. Part of the blame is on Nvidia, of course.
Very small part.
Yeah, and the rest is on the app developers. They're not making their apps work correctly on Wayland.
No,
Are you talking about like the individual programs, like the individual applications, or are you talking
mostly Electron apps?
Electron apps work on Wayland.
Like for example, in Discord. On Wayland, sharing the desktop is a nightmare on Wayland.
No, it's not. Sharing a screen on Wayland is nightmare everywhere, not just on Discord.
No, I share it. I share it on Discord. It's on X11. It works.
Yeah,
and I would argue Electron apps are kind of a mess on X11 and Wayland.
Explain why sharing a screen and Wayland is a mess that nobody wants to tackle. Because what X11 does, X11 provides APIs for you to share a screen. It's a straightforward API. You subscribe to it, you push screen to it. That's what they set as a standard practice. You should use desktop environments, 15 desktop environments. Yeah. Every one of them has their own implementation, if they have one. Most of them don't. I know GNOME does. I know KDE does. That's it. And okay, another one does. A compiler named Veston, which is Wayland compatible, made by them compiler, and it should not be used by anyone. And it's just a showcase.
In my humble opinion,
situation.
Hey, Derek, is your internet working just like super slow today?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm having no problem when the Jitsi call, but obviously the stream is.
You're quite.
Jitsi is reducing your video rate to like 180p, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's orange. It's set to orange and red.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you guys can hear me, I'm not too worried about what happens on YouTube because I can't fix that. So
Brandon has been shaking his head ever since we've been talking about Wayland, and I don't know what it is that, but I think he wants to say something.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm gonna be shouting about this, but Wayland to me is just friggin' idiotic the way they've been. To your point, Derek, they've been working on it since 2009, and this being 2022, and it is nowhere near ready for prime time. I mean, where is the freaking logic? I mean, X11 has been working so well for so many years, and what the thing with Wayland is it just doesn't fit logically.
Well, the problem with X11 has been working for so many years is the fact that X11 started in like 1984 or 85. You know, it's been around for a long time, way before the modern web, way before modern computing in general, and it's a lot of old legacy code that nobody understands, and it can't really be improved the way it needs to be.
There's several things that X11 has done wrong over the years. One thing is they have a very strict development policy on like adding features, as in they don't add features and they don't remove features. So what that means that over the course of years, how many X11 releases have we had in the past 30 years? Not that many. We're still on like X11.1, something like that.
That would have been a lot more. The problem is, from the time X11 was created, X11 was created in a time where everything had to be a protocol. That was a thing then. Everything was a protocol. And Wayland tried to be exactly X11, just modern. Plus modern features, all that. And that's why they wanted to do a protocol, even though they should have been an API server to begin with.
Yeah, to be fair, really though, the only problem with Mirror was the fact that Canonical was behind it. I guarantee you that if it was any other company, we would probably see some like more Mirror compositors or something like that.
Wayland was selected as the main one. That's why Mirror died. Mirror wouldn't have died if Wayland didn't exist.
Right.
Well, I don't know. I don't think either one of them really. I mean, Wayland hasn't been that successful either. So.
But we should also remember that what Wayland is trying to do is Wayland is trying to basically build exactly the feature set of X11 of a 30-year-old program. It's trying to build to the level of feature set plus, which means it's trying to replicate every feature it has, or at least build the features they are important, plus build additional features like actual security, because in who in 1985 thought about security? At that time, password that was used was 1234, and it was an actually secure password.
Oh, there weren't even passwords back then, practically.
Your daily driver user account was root.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a single user system, right? Yeah.
A secure password was 1234. Let's remember that. So X11 that was created for that time didn't have much security because it didn't need it.
And all it needed to display, needed to display the amber colored text on a black background. That's all it needed. The monochrome monitors
was create protocol and endpoints through that protocol, with which then a window manager can then draw windows on screen. That's all it needed to do.
That's still all it does. If you ever install X11 to this day, just a base X11 system, it does the exact same thing it did 30 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
It installs the Tom's window manager thing and Xterm, and you get the 3 Xterms that appear on the screen when you log in.
Yeah,
that's all it's ever done.
Yeah, and now for some odd reason, the code is so legacy that it causes sometimes the processor to spike up for a few seconds every time you want to move a window with effects, with Kwin, for example, in my case.
Yay.
So getting tired, or somebody even more famous like 9to5Mac and everything, they include Wayland and they make it default. And they don't provide support or anything. They rely on the users providing support to each other.
Yeah, I never understood why Fedora enabled Wayland to by default.
Well, Fedora does it.
I know why.
They want to be a testing ground, though. I mean, that's fine if that's your goal.
Red Hat, so that's why.
Right.
Because
I tested Fedora 36. Because I didn't notice at first that Wayland was the default session, but I was able to log in. That was the first time I was able to log in on Nvidia using Wayland.
You can actually. It is quite possible if you get Nvidia drivers.
Yeah.
Of course, you most likely have a Intel CPU with iGPU, so it actually logged in through that, not through Nvidia.
No, I have only a single GPU. I don't get processors with integrated GPUs.
But not everybody uses laptops, Big Pod.
Most Intel desktop CPUs have a GPU integrated.
These days, yes.
Yeah, even desktops, and probably most Intel desktops, they don't have a dedicated card.
Most of them have. No, most of them have. There is a F SKU which is let's say 12900F. Specifically by 12900F, you're not gonna have a iGPU in it. Otherwise, you're gonna have it, which is contrasted by AMD, which only CPUs with G at the end will have it.
Yeah, but it's not the thing. I downloaded the Nvidia drivers because the Fedora didn't have the Nvidia drivers baked in. I had to download the Nvidia driver, which included already the driver signature for Wayland.
Yes.
I was able to log in, but as I told Derek in the interview, I tried to record audio and the whole system froze up. And I was like, okay, bye-bye, Fedora.
Well, now that we're on topic of Ryzen, I have a bit of an announcement. I bought a new computer.
No.
You actually have something modern?
It's a modern computer.
Is it an old ThinkPad?
No, it's a desktop. Ryzen 9 5900X, 3060 Ti, 64 gigs of RAM.
Yay!
Nice.
You just beat me, man.
I went all out. So I only have an Nvidia graphics card. No other graphics card.
Nvidia. So still Nvidia. So good.
I'm not gonna buy AMD graphics card. Those things are horrible.
Speaking of AMD graphic cards, I just got my desktop back from church. It's an old i5 6500 with 32 gigs of RAM. It has an integrated CPU, Intel GPU. Sorry. But I didn't want to use it. I was like, nah, I'm not going to use an integrated GPU. So I had an old Radeon 6890 or 6850 laying around in the store. So I installed it, and I installed Zero Linux with the classic ATI XF86 ATI video driver, and it worked right out of the box. And I was okay, I'm sticking to Nvidia, but for production work on Zero, I will use this computer because it has AMD and it works just out of the box. And Wayland works.
I don't know what you're hollering. I don't know what you're hollering about, Big Pod. I got an AMD GPU in my rig, and I haven't had any problems with it.
Well, as someone who needs a proper integrated encoder,
He needs the NVENC encoder.
AMD encoder, even if it is included, is absolute trash. And
if you do something like Blender or something like that, you have to have the GPU encoder, and you need NVIDIA cards for that.
Sometimes want to do some AI stuff, so I need CUDA cores or anything that requires CUDA cores. I sometimes do those stuff, so NVIDIA card is a must for me. Basically,
this is something strange. I don't
from having an AMD which is useless for anything but video games, where NVIDIA card is useful for everything. Simple as that. As someone who used to run only AMD cards.
This is strange that AMD is not on top of the encoder game yet.
To be fair, I really don't blame AMD, because for the longest time, they've been competing with Nvidia, which has always provided the superior driver support, and
but
honestly,
they're proprietary. But yeah,
honestly, superior hardware performance-wise. So as a result, the community has kind of just bought into Nvidia, costing AMD the market share. So at that point, then, what choice do they have but to focus on rasterization to build up the GPU performance, and then just toss the encoder to the wayside, of which the majority of people don't actually use the AMD encoder.
Oh, they do.
And just quickly, I do want to respond to folks in the
hold up. NVIDIA encoder.
Hold up, Big Pod. Those of you in the chat, I can't fix the internet. I don't own this building, and I'm not the only one here. We have a lot of tenants in this office building now, where when I first moved in a year ago, it was me and like 2 other people. Now there's several businesses here, and it's a shared network. I can't do anything about the internet, so if it bothers you, don't watch the stream. I mainly do this for these guys here, to hang out with them. I mean, I stream it on YouTube for those that want to watch it, but if you can't handle the buffering, that's fine. I have considered, and I may end up doing this, just not doing these live streams anymore, or live streams period, because the connections are so bad. The last 3 or 4 times I've tried to do even just live streams on my own without, doing like a Jitsi call, just me chatting with the YouTube chat. It's been a nightmare. So I may just quit doing live streams until I get better internet, or move to a new place, and maybe move to a different office location or something. But I don't know. But for now, I'm going to chat with these guys. I do apologize for you guys watching on YouTube. I can't do anything about it, though.
And I can spin up a rehost if you want.
Yeah, I mean, we could start doing that.
Yeah.
We could just stream it on one of your channels, and then I could just join you guys on a call.
Yeah.
We might do that next month then. If
I can, well, I don't have a good connection, so you guys beat me.
But Josh and Big Pod, these guys have channels. I mean, we could just, stream it from their channel. It doesn't matter.
There we go.
Yes, subscribe to Big Pod.
And to whatever Joshua has.
Yeah, it'll be a Gen 2 live stream installation.
Yep, something like that.
There's always a solution.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, the lag is intermittent. I'm watching it. Like I've got good internet here. Like the speeds, it's like 800 megabytes. It'll be, and then it'll just drop to 0, and it's periodic. So something's going on here with the network, maybe on some other computers.
I know what it is. We have the same thing over here. It's called C-shared connection, where they take a single IP, they split it to the building, and they split the bandwidth. They try to do it. They try to do it equally, but we all know it's not equal.
Because there's a lot of computers hooked up here. Now, on a Sunday, I'm the only one here. That's why I do these on a Sunday. Yeah. It's just to have the best possible internet connection. But I mean, there's a office that does like tax stuff, which is not tax season right now, but their computers are still here and hooked up. And there's another office that does like insurance stuff, and there's a lot of computers going on.
What if there are some people like me in the building who they queue up their downloads and leave?
Right. That's probably what's going on.
Yeah, most probably.
There we go. I got the restream running now. I had to connect to a backup server.
By the way, I just wanted to tell everyone who is Greek Orthodox listening, Christos Anesti to everyone. Hope Easter is a blessed one this year. And Yeah, enjoy your for Greece, for the Greek people. Enjoy your tsureki.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I don't know what that meant, but it sounded really nice.
tsureki is like a brioche kind of thing.
Okay.
With a red egg in the center. It's our Greek tradition. It's delicious. So we're not having any this year, but for whoever's having it this out there in Greece, enjoy it because it's delicious. Anyway, I just wanted to announce something as well. Work on Zero Linux May release, anniversary release is almost done, and since the interview, I had a lot of people provide development support to the distro. There are some developers. Shout out to all you guys. Thank you. They're helping develop some tweaks and apps for Zero Linux. So in the next release, there will be something new called PI AI, Post Installation Application Installer. So
Nice.
instead of offering the applications in Calamares, causing the install to take 5 hours, like in someone's situation, now they can select. I will propose a group of apps for each section, and then this is to handhold new users a little bit, introduce them to Linux, get them used to Linux, and then they do the rest via PAMAC. But I will give them some suggestions to get them started post-install, and it's going to be something unique to the design of the app. I mean, the idea is not unique to Zero Linux, but the design will be unique to Zero Linux, and yeah, and no more issues with the Nvidia
drivers.
No, not Nvidia legacy drivers. Figured that out, and Wayland is taking a back seat for now, and Firefox is the default browser now.
Yeah, I was wondering how long Falcon was going to last as your default browser, because I understand the decision. It's KDE.
But... Yeah, it didn't last because I opened. You know what? The reason why I removed it? It was very simple. I opened my own website, the sneak preview that we had on the interview.
Yeah.
I opened that in Falcon. It was completely messed up. So I was like, nah. Put Firefox and make everyone happy.
Well, if I may just briefly interject in regards of browsers, due to my profession as a web guy, I don't know, I was looking for a browser that is able to emulate iOS devices, or like if I don't have an Apple device, but I need to test something in a Safari. Does any one of you have experience with Epiphany and or like something similar that uses WebKit?
The only WebKit browser I've ever used was Suckless's Surf, and it was horrendously slow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have thoughts on Epiphany because I daily drove it for 3 months.
Why?
Because I hate myself. Okay, so here's the main reason why.
It runs Gentoo. I mean, don't ask why.
Okay. So the main reason why I installed it is because it uses WebKit GTK, which Emacs also has a dependency, which is also a dependency of several other applications. So as a result, it saved me compile times. But the big reason for me to use Epiphany was because of how integrated it was with the GTK theming I was using. Because Firefox really sticks out sometimes, and so does Chromium. So So it's just like I just got frustrated with it, so I just went with Epiphany, because for like doing everything besides like watching YouTube videos or like trying to access like Google Docs, Epiphany works.
Yeah.
It is, however, slow.
Yeah.
I mean, links in my terminal works. EWJW in Emacs works. That doesn't mean I would use them for 3 months.
Same.
I mean, those are emergency browsers, and that's the same with Epiphany. That's an emergency browser. You use it when you don't have anything else.
And
I've been looking like for the main use case of being style behavior on a somewhat free machine, but yeah, it's difficult.
No, you can add extension. There's an extension that I used to use on any browser, basically. It's available for all of them. Firefox, Chromium, that allows you to switch
User agents.
User agents, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can do that on the fly. Like, for example, when I was on Windows, when I was on Windows, for example, and I wanted to download the Windows 10 ISO back then, if you go to, I have a link. If you go to it on anything except Windows, it will provide you the download link.
Yeah.
But if you go to it on Windows, it will provide you the download tool for Windows instead of the ISO.
That you can use to download the ISO.
Yeah. Yeah, so I trick the browser to think that it's, for example, using WebKit or Mac, or Linux or whatever. It immediately shows me on Windows. It gives me the ISO link, so that should work instead of.
Well,
having
I'm more in regards looking for a technical on how does the browser render the site, in which layers, what shifts are coming in, how fast is it.
The fastest render will always be the HTML rendering.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If
That's,
that's,
I mean,
that's
always
always
going
going to
JavaScript and CSS and whatnot. It will just render faster.
the problem is that a lot of these websites are serving you an index.html file, which calls upon a JavaScript file, which calls upon a JavaScript library, which then calls upon a WebAssembly front end, which then calls on a WebAssembly server to serve you the website.
Yes, or there's some Angular crap in between, or some
That's what I'm talking about.
or some Next, or all of the kind of But emulating like Safari on Linux is like the best way is to go with Epiphany, I'm assuming then.
Yeah.
I guess if you had to use a WebKit browser, Epiphany is probably the best one. You don't want to try Suckless Surf. I can just tell you that it's not a good experience. He mentioned Emacs has a dependency on WebKit. That's for EWW, but that's not a normal
It uses
graphical browser that's going to have video and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
No,
I need
you
like
can watch
the
videos in
user. Sorry.
You can watch videos in EWW.
Yeah, but nobody does that.
Yeah, it just launches an MPV and an Emacs buffer.
It depends on which, like the stream here. You couldn't do that. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
No, but for example, for the upcoming Zero Linux website, we're using Yarn, and I tested the speed of the web loading with the G metrics.
Mm-hmm.
I got 100%, and I got 700 millisecond load time.
Yeah. You need to compress everything down and make sure everything's in the right order. If it's in the right order, it's no big deal. Sorry.
And everything is local to the website itself. Nothing is being pulled online except the thumbnails of the video of the YouTube.
Has all the code been minified?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
so
that works.
So I'm getting pretty good speeds, and I'm happy. The only thing that something I love, and I told DT about that. I love widgets, weather widgets, and time widgets. I added that. Since adding that, it made the website go from 700 milliseconds to up to 4-second load time.
Yeah, because they wait for a response to load.
Yeah.
Especially a time widget, it's got a
and it's open weather map.
Asynchronous.
Yeah, the open weather map API key is open weather map itself. The service is very slow.
Make it asynchronous loading, not synchronous.
Gmetrics will show like a tab with make sure resources are loading in the correct order, and you can like async bigger resources or delay responses.
Alternatively, you could just use HTML and CSS style sheets and just have a website that actually works.
Yeah, of course. But,
Or you could be like me and actually write it in a useful language like C#.
Or it happens out there with businesses here, especially
like 99% of the websites on the web right now do not need a database.
No.
Yeah,
but they're all database driven. It makes no sense
because they use WordPress themes. Templates are ready made out there. Just drag and drop, and everything is there. And they want to do minimal work. But I tried. Here's the reality, harsh reality. As soon as you install WordPress or something similar, the load times. I tested this with Gmatrix. The load times go shot up from 700 milliseconds up to 14 to 20 seconds.
Well, it
there are
depends on
few
the
reasons for
database
that.
connection.
Yeah. Few reasons for that. First of all, it uses that horrible database called MySQL.
Yeah.
If it uses something better like Postgres
Is probably
or Microsoft SQL or Oracle SQL, basically something that is actually enterprise grade.
Yeah.
Not
Or if
that
you guys want a really scary thought, my local bank uses an old Solaris server, which
Okay, yeah. Normal.
which still runs,
Sure.
not Open Solaris, not Open Sun, but Oracle Unix.
Okay. Yeah. All hard. Nothing new for a bank.
No,
Yeah,
nothing new for a
especially for
bank.
banks,
But
yeah.
they're running their website on this, and it's horribly slow.
Okay, website, that's another thing.
Yeah, I was hoping it wasn't connected to the internet.
No, but banks today, banks locally here, they still use NT system with Windows XP. So
Okay,
There's still a lot of XP machines out in use.
that's nothing new. Look, until your the ATM machine that you go to will also run XP.
yeah,
Most of them do.
yeah.
Some of them are Windows 7.
Well, there's a short story about that. When I was in Cork, I'm from Lebanon, so to me, anything outside Lebanon is more advanced technologically. But when I went to Cork to work for Apple, and I went to the ATM machine to swipe money, they were working on Windows 2000, which is more stable than XP.
It's not.
No, it is. Come on, it's way more. You don't get blue screens the way you get on XP. But they were running Windows 2000, but without any service pack. The first release. So, and most of the machines I found were on the desktop, where you can see my computer, the trash bin, and everything. I was like, I thought we were backwards. No, it's.
Well, I mentioned before, I knew a security company, like a security system company that goes and installs security systems in businesses and homes and stuff like that. And all their software at their data center or their command center or whatever, it was running Windows 98.
I'll explain.
Better than 95.
No, it's very simple to explain why. Because I do provide the same service for camera installation and security cameras and like that. It's the security cameras themselves that require and now how do they call it? Dead protocol, HTTP protocol, not HTTPS, and it requires all the security in the browser to be turned off.
I asked the owner of that company why Windows 98. He said there was a piece of proprietary software they had to run that could only run on Windows 98.
Yes. This is correct. And
like they can't move to anything else. They're just stuck.
Like for example, for the church cameras that we installed, if you let Windows upgrade from Internet Explorer to Edge, you can no longer view the output of the camera in the browser. They're PTZ optic cameras, pan tilt zoom camera, security cameras, IP cameras. You have to have Internet Explorer with anything related to security turned off. Which
that would make sense, especially depending on when the drivers were written, because Internet Explorer is an integral part of those old versions of Windows. You couldn't get rid of Internet Explorer.
That they use either Actix or possibly Silverlight for a driving force behind.
Yeah, there's no driver for those cameras. You just plug them in, plug the Ethernet cable, and it works.
Yeah, so the program that you use to view is either using Actix or
something.
Funny thing is,
old version of Silverblue.
Funny thing is, if you guys want your mind blown, Home Assistant can actually detect some of those old cameras that rely on those older protocols, and it can repipe that into your NVR software. So if you're using anything like
of course it can.
Yeah, it can.
But for those cameras, what I don't understand is why they need to disable all the security if those cameras are security cameras.
Because because the version of ActX they require, I guess, are ActiveX, not ActiveX.
ActiveX, yes,
So
correct.
old, and the program and the software they're running is so bad.
Yeah,
and so problematic.
So those were cameras. Those were cameras that originally cost around $600 that we got for around $100.
Good job. Maybe it wasn't security problem when they were made, or
when they were made,
software
no.
made.
But today, in today's
evolved.
Let's mute this person. All right.
Save
our ears.
Things evolve
Wow.
over time.
At least it's not OS2.
Well, yeah, but
but you got to understand a lot of that stuff that was especially written in the late 90s. That was a weird time because, I mean, there were so many competing protocols, and like now we look at ActiveX and think, ActiveX, what a joke! Why would you depend on that? Well, back then,
it was
people thought maybe there was a future to it.
Yeah.
Now we laugh about it.
At the end of the day, in the 90s, who cared about security? There was no idea that every kid will have a computer more powerful in their pocket than a whole room of computers was back then.
Well,
this is a mainframe, right?
Well,
compared to that time, DT-Pult is a supercomputer.
Right.
Yeah, that and back in the day, like that sticky note with the password written on the computer monitor was actually more of a security threat than the online password database that you store your passwords on today.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays, it's actually the opposite.
At the time that wasn't even a security threat. At the time that was a normal thing that was actually providing security. Now it is a horrible security threat. Nobody should do, but everybody still does it. Every company.
And I know
it because I was IT support, and at the end of the day, you're happy to see someone who didn't let you in their computer if they weren't standing right next to you. And I was just happy to see that, and I congratulated them.
Yeah, but today, like Joshua said, with this those old cameras running such bad software, you can pipe those and put them on YouTube. Anybody could get them and put them on YouTube and get access. Because I used to work in retail, we used to sell some kind of brand of baby cams. You know those baby cams to monitor your babies.
Sure then.
Yeah, and it ended up being on somebody else buys the same device. That other person will end up seeing your stream from your camera on his instead.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big security flaw. And this, using old security cameras today will have the same thing happen.
I think there was actually an issue with like the Wise cameras that they're coming out with today, where like there was a software bug where it's just like when you went to view like your Wise camera through like their official application, it showed you somebody else's camera.
Yeah.
But that's always kind of been a problem with those radio frequency devices, because if somebody else is on the same frequency, they're just going to pick up everything.
The problem with radio frequencies, the problem with how things are programmed. That's a standard box. Things happen. You cannot be 100% sure until you put something in a production environment. Let's be clear about that. A lot of people think that if something is tested in staging or development, it will be perfect in production, which is not true. You will still find bugs when you go to the nebulous term at scale.
Yes.
But reality is,
what do you think? Why do you think those $700 cameras are being sold for so cheap today? Because there's
a lot better quality glass, mainly because
better quality cameras, better quality sensors, better security.
Like our manufacturing techniques for lenses especially are so improved now. The lenses on those cameras that were like really high tech 10, 20 years ago are nothing now.
But not only that, it's security. Security is the main issue. Security is the main issue. Those have absolutely no security anymore because their software is from '98.
Okay, plug them into a switch that doesn't have any connection to the internet, or if it does, it is netted from the internet, so you can only access the portal, not the camera itself.
Yeah, here's the problem. Like if you just wanted to run it on a local network, that's fine, but a lot of people want to be able to log into those cameras remotely and see what's going on.
Well, this is what you do.
Put a portal in front of, on the other side, into the DMZ. Don't put the cameras into the DMZ. That's the difference. That's the problem people do. They put cameras into the DMZ and the portal. Then you can access both. That's a wrong way to do it. You put a switch. You connect cameras to it. Then you connect a server to that switch and to another switch. One switch to access the cameras. One switch to access the internet. Create a firewall between those two ports, so only the program that is server can access the cameras and access the internet, but nothing that connects to that can do that.
We use them to stream mass on Facebook. So and now we don't need the browser section anymore because we do everything through OBS. So
okay,
there you go.
Yeah.
So OBS is more secure. So we disable. And the weird thing is, here's what's happening on Windows 10. Since the computer is Windows 10. When we launched the browser, since it was Internet Explorer previous to that, because we upgraded from Windows 7 to Windows 10, when we click the Edge icon, when Internet Explorer launches in the background, then Edge on top of it, then it kills the Internet Explorer window, then Edge takes... why does it work that way? Didn't it kill Internet Explorer altogether?
Compatibility reasons.
No, but
it's a hack. It's just a cheap little hack.
To do exactly what you're trying to do, but sometimes it doesn't work.
But Edge kills the Internet Explorer window. It appears just for a second.
It
and then
pulls certain things from it, then kills it. Yes.
Yeah.
It is all for compatibility, because Microsoft is all about backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
At the price of actually making things good. Sometimes
it just needed that process from Internet Explorer to start. And then once it started, it could...
It needed that process to start certain parts of it, but then it can kill it.
Yeah. It's so weird, but I have no choice. We have no choice but to use Windows over there because everything is set up for Windows. But which brings me a little bit around. I just discovered a new tool on Linux. It's amazing. It's like bringing the task manager from Windows to Linux. It's really amazing. It's called let me see where I have the name of it here. I just updated it last night. It's called System Monitoring Center.
System Monitoring Center.
It's Windows Task Manager basically with way more control on Linux. It's on the AUR. I just built it and added it to my repo, but it is amazing. It gives you granular control over your fans, your processor cores. You can assign different cores what to do.
Yeah, I found it on GitHub. Here, I'll put a link in the. Let's see.
No, it's written in Python.
Python. I was about to say, let me look at it, and I bet it's 98% JavaScript. No, it's not. It's Python.
It's 100% Python.
Sons or their daughters or their friends who are IT professionals. That's what they do.
Yeah. My mom still reboots her computer. She just restarts her computer anytime she thinks there's an error, even if there's not really anything going on. Like, Facebook is loading slow. You restart the computer. That's the way a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Well, I will announce that I disconnected my reset button completely, so it doesn't even work.
I haven't connected it correctly.
The funny thing is, my computers don't even have power buttons wired up.
You have automatic power.
They are set to power on when they get power, and I can reboot them, and I can shut them down, and I can turn them back on using IPMI.
or do this like I did in Cork. When I was in Cork, I used to arrive home, I used to say, "Honey, I'm home" to no one. But the computer, when I programmed the computer to turn on when it heard that sentence. So I was telling "Honey, I'm home" to my computer.
This laptop has essentially IPMI on it through Intel Management Engine.
Yeah.
Good old Vipro.
So did you just change Cortana's name to Honey? Is that how you accomplished
No,
that?
I did it via a hack using if this then that and an Android app. I forgot the name of it, but essentially when my Android phone hears the key phrase, it pipes it to the computer.
Oh, that's scary.
All right.
If this then that, and then
Scary.
pipes
If
it
you
to
guys
the
want-
computer.
Almost as
If you guys want if you guys
scary
want the
as-
non-scary version of this, you can replicate the same thing using Home Assistant and Mycroft.
and then you're gonna hear Alan Pope all the time.
Well, if you set Mycroft to use Alan Pope's voice, which I think it does by default, but
Yes,
but
it
you
does,
can change it.
as far as I know.
I afterwards I set Google Home to do that.
My desktop can currently, it is disabled, but can currently speak BigPod in my voice. It is disabled, but it can speak some words in my voice. It is scary as hell.
But back then, I because I was in the machine learning area section of Apple, I started automating everything at home. But everything, honey this, honey that. Well, because I was alone and it was lonely. And,
Aha.
So Siri was your honey then.
well, mixed Siri with the Google Assistant as well.
I actually wrote the program that synthesizes my voice. I used clips of myself every.
Well, that's a bit too much.
Well, I did that. I was having fun one evening.
And I played around with some e-reader on Linux, a command line e-reader, and it defaulted to a nice female voice that was very pleasant to listen to, but it had a couple of other options. One of them was Richard Stallman.
What?
And you talk about the most annoying voice to sit there and listen to.
He has enough talks on the internet so that speech synthesis can be done, or with a process I can't remember the name of. Let me find it.
That e-reader kept saying, "I'd like to interject."
Objection!
Let me see if I can find the right name for the.
While he's searching, since we just had the big release of Ubuntu 22.04, did anybody try out any of the 22.04s other than BigPod, of course?
Yes, me.
I figured Josh would take a look at it. Yeah.
Me.
What'd you
I
think, Josh?
installed it. I immediately broke it. It nuked the file system and everything.
I didn't have the same experience as you. I installed it on
You probably
bare
did
metal.
it wrong.
Well, you see, I did this thing of where it's just like, I use Pipewire for a lot of fancy stuff, like rerouting
So
my
do I.
audio and everything, because, it works more reliably than Pulse Audio does.
Yeah, but if it sounds like you purposely broke the thing. It didn't break it on its own.
Well, you see, I also
told you not to do it.
I also got super. I mean, I'm sorry that Firefox takes 30 seconds to load because it's a snap.
No, it doesn't.
It takes it would take me 30 seconds to load it. So it's just like I quickly rage quit it. Also for some reason the Firefox snap can't open file menu dialogues.
Sure can.
It
But
can't.
See, I have it installed right now.
It wasn't for me.
Because
I don't know. Yeah, because I had no problems
Save
with the Firefox on this
save
one.
page file dialog is there.
Well, I tested Kubuntu, so
Yeah.
they're still as outdated as heck. So I immediately uninstalled and said goodbye.
Well, I mean, obviously,
found a name for that thing to use. It's called speech concatenative synthesis. It's probably using either unit selection or diphone synthesis.
It sounds like my shrink.
Actually, a very cool system. Actually, Minecraft, I believe, uses that. But it could be wrong.
Concatenative synthesis.
Yeah, I did that at a very horrible Slovenian way one day for fun. It can speak Slovenian rather well, but nothing else, because Slovenian is its own beast in how you say things.
Okay,
Much nicer than English, so it's easier to do.
I have a subject to bring up. If anybody has been following the issue with Ferdi, anybody heard of Ferdi?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
They disappeared, and then the users started asking money for the issues section, and then he started acting drunk and everything, and now all of a sudden everything's back to normal.
Who was that? What happened?
There was a developer of the application Ferdi. He's acting really weird, posting strange things sometimes on social media and acting erratic and
asking money, asking
asking for money,
asking for $300 to join the issue page.
Right.
GitHub.
It's when they start billing you to post issues is when you start abandoning projects for kind of permanently. So
generally, when I see something like that, one of two things has happened. Either all of his accounts have been hacked, which I probably wouldn't use that program anymore, or the lead dev has completely lost his mind. Maybe he's on drugs or drinking, or he's whatever.
Doesn't care.
Yeah, and in which case I still wouldn't use the application. So either way, I probably wouldn't.
The Ferdi has a feature to sync between devices, at which point you need a Ferdi account.
Yeah.
I still use it, but without an account. So nothing is synced to the servers anymore. Although it's back for good now, apparently. But from what happened, I don't trust the developer anymore. But I really love the application itself. It's better than Tangram. It's better than all the other competitors out there. It just works. I just don't use the account.
None of those.
Tangram is basically a web app kind of thing. You open all your Telegram, WhatsApp, TweetDeck, Caprine, and all your stuff in one application. It's an Electron app, but the part that sells Ferdi for me or for everyone is the fact that it's $0. It's 100% free and open source. Whereas the others, all the others, like
are proprietary,
because it's based on Friends. Friends offers you limited stuff. If you want everything, you have to pay. So Ferdi does that. It does everything Friends has for premium for free. But because of the recent behavior of the developer or the hack or whatever,
I mean,
I deleted
best case scenario is this guy is tired of developing this software and he's just going crazy on Twitter, spouting a lot of nonsense. But really, worst case scenario is that's not even him.
Yeah.
It's somebody, because he was maybe using the same password for all his accounts. He got something.
What's that?
Operational security. Everything you need to do it correctly, not just left and right, however you want to do it.
Yeah, because I mean, it may be the developer because he's posting a lot of nonsense on Twitter and on GitHub, multiple accounts. But still, a lot of people, even people that should know better, still use the same password for everything. Even though in 2022, let me tell you something: don't use the same password.
I use
more than once.
Don't use password. You should know only one password to the vault of your password manager, and even that password should be 30 characters long.
Yeah, that's what I do. I generate a new password for every website, and I
everything you do should have its own password.
Yes.
Yeah, and I use Bitwarden locally hosted on my server. That's the safest.
Mine is not locally hosted currently.
That's a dangerous thing. That's a dangerous game you're playing, Bitpod.
I know. Currently the vault is a file on my my desktop because I need to set up the server again because I was a genius. Let's just say that, and I destroyed my server. I had to rebuild everything up again. Yay!
Like a man after my own heart.
Like I recently did the Joshua thing. I was building Zero Linux. Instead of deleting one folder, I deleted the whole entire drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least I have backups of the vault.
Well, just to let you guys know, I did recently make an attempt at making my own distribution. It was called Yafad Linux because it literally stood for It literally stood for yet another freaking Arch distro, because it was an Arch-based distribution. And
sad.
Why wasn't it a Gentoo-based distribution?
because arcolinux.org has wonderful guides on how to make an Arch-based distribution.
Yeah.
Oh, making a Gentoo-based distribution would take a lot of time, really.
It's a lot of time for me, yes, but I can technically do it. Because I have a server that has
Tell you searching for signature and fail to open program.
Is that an issue because PAMAC is developed by the Manjaro guys, and maybe they're on a slightly older version?
They were modifying it. The maintainer of the AUR package was modifying it for his own use.
Right.
He broke the AUR package. He made it work only for his distribution. No longer works for any of the others.
Yeah.
But the solution was very simple. Just go to the Manjaro GitLab, grab the PKG build from there, and build from source.
What someone could do, and I'm not saying any of you guys should do this, but what probably could solve this problem from ever happening in the future is just to put this thing in an app image, PAMAC.
Or simply just
PAMAC will
build
not
from
work as an
source
app
everything like I did when I was Arch user.
But PAMAC will not work as an app image.
Well, what you do is you roll back to an ancient release of Arch Linux where you could call a pacman tac SYYU-F asterisk and just install every single package available.
Yeah, don't do that.
But on a serious note, it needs a daemon, a proper daemon to run.
Right.
Without a proper daemon, it won't run. Build from source. Just fork if you want. Just fork the repo and build it from there. It's a simple PKG build, but don't get the AUR version anymore because even the maintainer said I haven't touched it in years. The main package. So just go build from source. That's the solution, and I'm doing that. I tried to use BAUH. It's awesome. You have granular control over everything, but the problem is there is no proper daemon. And
it doesn't look like I can set use flags with this, so I can't use it on any of my systems.
Well, I don't think use flags are a thing.
Well,
I think that's a made-up thing.
And it's BAUH is written in Python 100%.
Yeah, wasn't PAMAC the same way though?
No, yes. PAMAC is GTK. PAMAC is built in GTK.
Well, it's GTK, but
it's built in Python.
I don't think so. It's let me check. I'll tell you what it's written in. Manjaro,
either Python, C, or Vala.
Manjaro, PAMAC. I'll tell you what it's written in. It's written in. Wow, it doesn't say. GitHub shows you what it's written in. Oh, it's written in Mason.
That's a build system. That's not a.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's weird.
I think PAMAC is primarily like a C written in like a language in the C family.
Vala?
Written in Vala.
Vala. Okay,
yeah, I think
that
it
would
is
make
Vala.
sense.
Yeah. It's written in Vala, 96%.
Vala, yeah.
So, but I love PAMAC. PAMAC is the best GUI package manager currently.
Package manager, GUI package manager is good. Let's be clear.
Well, PAMAC has the advantage of also being a command line interface to it too.
Well,
so
I use a command line 100%, but for new users to Linux, you have to give them a GUI. I tried installing the what's it called, the GNOME software. It wasn't picking up. It wasn't picking up any repos, just Flatpaks.
Yeah. What about Discover? Since you're doing KDE,
yeah, it breaks.
They said, "Oh no,
Discover breaks all the time."
Yeah. And it doesn't properly support the AUR.
Yeah.
Who does besides PAMAC?
Yeah, but I mean, technically, the Arch guys don't properly support it. The AUR.
Arch guys don't support.
To be fair, how can you support the AUR when you're developing GNOME software, which is targeting the more popular distributions like Ubuntu, Fedora, Red Hat, and so on?
I don't know why is it there to install on Arch KDE, for example? Why do they allow you to install it on KDE?
Because it's a hard requirement for the KDE meta packages. Like KDE free. I think KDE Desktop has a hard dependency on Discover actually being there.
Yes.
It might not actually do anything, but it's required that it be there.
Yeah, there
same.
are some libraries are required there, but the actual application you can remove it.
Yeah, the
Let's see
actual
what
application
Ubuntu
itself. Yes.
does.
Yeah. What I love about Discover, there's one thing I love about Discover, is you can maintain and update widgets, themes, Kvantum stuff from the and Kwin scripts from Discover itself. You don't need to go to the settings and re-download every time. You can update them using Discover because it's hard-coded into KDE. But when there's no proper AUR support, when you try to install Flatpaks using that, not everything works. It needs work itself. So PAMAC is the best alternative. I'm not saying it's the best GUI, just the best alternative out there. Bau is promising, but not yet good.
It gets complicated when you start adding other things that are not the native package manager.
So far,
like on Arch, I mean, you have to add support for the AUR. Then are you going to add support for Flatpaks, snaps, app images? I mean, where do you draw the line? What about package programming language specific package managers like Pip and Gem and Cargo and like you gotta.
That's where I myself drew a line. I drew a line at Flatpaks. It supports AUR. I edited the build dimension options build, and I set it to enable only AUR and Flatpaks. No snaps at all. So if they want to add snaps, it's their problem. Just the most widespread package formats are Flatpak, AUR, and regular Arch repositories. So I drew the line. I mentioned it. I'm going to mention it on the forums. If you want to add support for anything other than these three, it's on you. But official support in Zero Linux will be only Flatpaks, AUR, and the regular Arch packages. That's it.
Yeah, and there's applications out there.
Discover without removing KDE.
There are applications out there, other software centers, if you will, that actually install snaps and app images and some of this other stuff that they could go find out there. It's already packaged for Arch. I would just, like the new user that needs help with that, just send them.
And by the way,
to install some of that.
And by the way, DT, the sentence you mentioned during the interview is on the website now. When you said Zero Linux is not trying to be everything to everyone.
Right.
I put it there because it's a good quote. So yeah.
Yeah, I felt like that's a statement that many people can make about
you could say
their projects that they work on. I'm not trying to do everything for everyone here, right? I'm just trying to.
Arco, on the other hand, is trying exactly that. But they're doing it better than I ever will because there's a team behind it.
I've got a few more people behind it.
Yeah, but as a single person, it's impossible. The more I add, the more they want. So I'm like, I drew the line, red line. You cannot cross that line. If you do want to cross it, it's bye-bye on you. Yeah, Bau is something to try, but the developer is currently working on a proper daemon. Until it has one, I won't be using it. I told him sorry, but I need a proper daemon because double-clicking Arch packages now, if you use Bau, it will open as a regular zip archive. So instead of package manager taking them, hooking into them,
it isn't. It needs a daemon. It needs a association, not a daemon.
The daemon is it runs in the background. It allows it to run in the background. So when you
for that you don't need a daemon. For
that, you do
a file association. No, you don't.
But
is this for the for to listen for updates?
No, for updates you can set it, but I don't know how it works.
So
open a file. You need a file association.
Okay.
You need a MIME file association.
I tried that, Big Pod. I tried that. When you double click on, I told it open with Bau. But when you set that and you delete all the rest of the apps in the association, you just leave Bau. You double click on the application, it still opens as a regular archive. Bau is not taking it.
Because it's a target exit, and that's why the default to automatically.
Where is the source code for PAMAC? hosted?
I'll give it to you. I'll send it.
Is it on GitHub or GitLab?
I'll send it to you in chat. Here, it's in chat.
Arch packages are tar
GitLab
or tar.xz.
ZSTD. No, it's the package for Arch is pk.pkg.tar.zstd.
Or ZSTD, yeah. Now it's Z standards, okay.
But
that means it's a file archive for all file archive. That understanding is a file archive, not
I don't
as a
know.
package. So you need to set for that specific file archive type. So this standard file archive you need to set it to be
whoa, what is all that noise?
You need to set it to be for Z standard file archive, you need to set it to run as that, but even that might not work because that might not have file handling correctly.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But that is not the problem of daemon. That is problem of the program itself. It needs to have a problem.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. He mentioned that daemon is only for updates. But yes, there is an option. There is an option in Bao to tell it that how frequently to check for updates. But that does it without a daemon. It does it in some weird way. But for me, it didn't work.
So it uses cron then.
Yes,
it changes your cron file.
Yes.
So it starts it every so often.
Yeah, and it's not working correctly.
Why is it using cron and not like a systemd timer?
Because it, I don't know.
Because cron is better.
Because who uses systemd timers?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm seriously asking who is using systemd timers.
Yeah, I mean, really, nobody. Well, and the other thing is, what if it's an Arch-based distro that like Artix that doesn't have systemd?
The main reason why I'm asking is because they could use like a systemd service file that is called upon by a systemd timer that will execute a script, and it will work far more reliably than like cron would for like a desktop use case.
But if you're trying to target as many Arch-based distributions as possible, you would want to avoid a hard dependency on systemd.
Yes, exactly.
Even then,
you don't care about anything that's not Arch Linux because Artix is not Arch Linux. They call themselves Arch compatible, but if you're just targeting Arch-based distributions, then target systemd.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's actually going to have cron installed on Arch Linux because the base package doesn't even install a cron daemon anymore. You have to install it yourself.
It relies on us. Systemd timers. People are not.
It relies on us distro maintainers to include the cron.
I was about to say most. I don't know about most, but it seems like most distributions just ship cron anyway.
Well, yeah, most distributions will ship cron, but because so many people are used to using it, and honestly, it's far simpler setting up a cron job than it is a systemd timer. But if we're talking purely from the perspective of the application developer, just make the systemd timer.
Yeah, I would go that route as well.
It is what they are used to. They're probably used to the
legacy reasons. They were already
cron.
By the way, I posted another link for you, Derek, for the PKG build, the actual PKG build file. But since you're on Arco, you must be running Arco Linux PAMAC all by now, because since he created a package to replace the old one.
I don't have PAMAC installed. I was just checking out some of their source code to see what it was written in, to see what kind of background processes. Their GitLab, though, it has the source code, but it has absolutely no documentation. Like they didn't even include like a README or anything. So
this is normal Manjaro. But yeah. I wanted to mention, speaking of systemd daemons, I own a keyboard from 2006. This keyboard, like you, Derek, like you like your separate keyboard, weird machine thing.
I don't know if it's weird, but yeah, I like my.
To me, it's weird because it's separate. But I have a keyboard. It's the G15 from 2006. Not the new one because they discontinued the old one and they replaced it with a newer one. I went to I was crying because I hadn't used that keyboard since 2010. And because on Windows, the driver doesn't support it anymore. So
is that the Logitech with the little monitor at the top of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I almost cried because Windows killed support for it. They support the new one instead,
Show this to the.
which is all online. It all pulls your information online, cloud-based stuff. I go to the AUR. Somebody sends me the AUR. Somebody created, forked the driver to Linux, to Arch Linux, basically. So
I mean, it's pretty cool that people are still maintaining a hardware like that because when it comes to like small form factor display devices like that, they do have a use case on like a desktop system.
Yeah, and it has a proper system D daemon to display the system usage, RAM usage, and all that stuff on your little display monitor. I'm like, yay! I have a use for this keyboard again. Since 2010, I haven't touched it. 12 years not touching the keyboard.
Well, that's one of the things that makes the AUR so great is, I mean, it has so much stuff in it, but you would be surprised how many really old drivers are in the AUR. Things that most Linux distributions, of course, have abandoned. But as long as somebody in the community wants to keep that thing going,
and
that's what makes that community repo so special.
I was amazed. I almost had a party. Resurrected, keyboard resurrected, thanks to the AUR. I included it in Calamares for myself. I built an ISO for myself. I included the driver I built the packages and put them on my repo, then included in Calamares for me. So I'm like, yay, I have an ISO for this computer for my keyboard to work.
Yeah.
I love the AUR. That's why I'm an Arch user for life. AUR.
Yeah, it would be hard for me to get away from it at this point. Although I don't know.
You can create your own packages, recipes, and share, and you can.
Well, I mean, if you guys want maximum AUR, just look at how Gentoo repositories work, because every single package is basically just like a package build from the AUR.
And Gentoo's package builds or Gentoo's e-builds are the original, which then package builds are faked from.
Yep.
So,
well, Gentoo's an older project because, I mean, Gentoo as a distro started in 2000 or 2002.
RPMs use the same system. The only one that doesn't use is the horrible, which I use, Deb. Dev packages are written in a horrible way, and I have to maintain them.
If I was going to move away from packaging some of my stuff, instead of doing Arch packages, like if I ever wanted to just redo everything, honestly, I probably would start packaging everything as an app image.
Yes.
Like if I had to start over, I'd probably have just went that.
Package everything as Docker container or Snap and Flatpak.
I'm giving this to like new users, Big Pod, like normal computer users. They're not going to want Docker containers.
Don't create something that requires us to scratch our left ear with our right toe.
It isn't so hard. Docker containers are really easy and really awesome.
Yeah.
But they're not.
Well, I use Nextcloud, and maintaining that alone is a nightmare. Let alone.
You know how I maintain Nextcloud?
100 containers.
How I maintain my Nextcloud instance is that it's in a Docker container, and it just connects to my PostgreSQL container as well. And then I just let somebody else worry about it. In the meantime, all I do is just Docker pull restart.
Yes,
I've been running my Nextcloud server for years now as a snap.
Also, that's
just because snaps. I don't know. A lot of people hate snaps for various reasons, but one advantage snaps have over both Flatpaks and app images, and I love app images, but server applications. No, Snap on the server is just so nice. It's just so nice.
Yes, I tried the Nextcloud on Ubuntu server.
Yeah.
It was working good up until I messed it up myself. I locked myself out of my storage, but after that I installed the regular Arch since I was running. I was running Arco Linux on. Haftor Linux on my server. So I was like, leave it.
It's not the only thing I will ever install, server will ever install on my system on bare metal. or Docker. Everything else will go into some sort of a container because it is 10 times easier to control.
Yeah,
because
you know how
cares about it. I just update.
Yeah, because if I had to set up a proper Nextcloud server, just installing things through the package manager, well, now I have to worry about what version of Apache or Nginx or PHP, whatever packages these things require, you know. And with a container, you don't have to worry about all that. It's just all there for you.
Well, let's just say from the perspective of the classic sysadmin here, you're sitting there, you're running a website, right? Just a standard web server. This is super basic Nginx. Spin it up. You wanted to. Your boss tells you that you need to set up a blog in a hurry. So by default, you're going to set up WordPress, which requires PHP. I think it's like 8.5 right now. Well, at the same time, you've also been running this MariaDB database that requires PHP 6.8, and then in the meantime, you've also got this database hook server, which is running an even older version of PHP.
And your server's still running Debian 9.
Yes, your server's still running Debian 9. So then what you have to do is you have to compile PHP, but you can't call PHP because PHP is already a package, so you have to rename it. Yeah. And then you have to make sure that you pin that application in apt. That way apt isn't, updating PHP when you don't want it to update PHP because that breaks things.
Yep. Or just throw everything into a Docker container, separate Docker containers, and you're done.
Yes, Docker has been a godsend, and that's why it blew up in popularity.
Well, for some reason, in my Nextcloud, every time I boot the system with Nextcloud on it, it's on a separate computer, desktop, because I connected it to my Google account to share all my photos from my device.
Mm-hmm.
I get a warning. I get an email warning. Unsecure connection detected. Insecure connection.
That is Google complaining that you're not using Google Drive services.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Is that what that is?
That's literally what that is.
Something like that.
Because I deal with the exact same error code, and that's what I've summed it up to. Even though Nextcloud is checking in using my Google API key.
Yeah, because you can log in.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be secure, right? There is no reason not for it to be secure, but it's still insecure according to Google.
Well, I'm showing something on my screen. This is Bau, by the way. It's kind of weird looking, but I really wanted to succeed because the level of customization this has goes really with KDE.
I mean, I can look at your theme and it's like, yeah, of course you're going to try to push that application onto me.
And by the way, any of you know this Linux? What's his name? The Linux Cast guy.
Yep, Matt.
Yeah, Matt.
He reviewed Zero Linux, and the title of the video is "What the fuck is Zero Linux?"
That's what the title of all his when he takes a look at a distro.
And literally, he mentioned everything in the video that's coming in the next release. Everything.
Oh, that's good.
So I was like, "Oh, cool! At least he mentioned those."
Okay, so don't shut down the screen share because I'm about to destroy your distro.
Oh my goodness!
Why?
You have way too much transparency in that terminal.
I love.
But he's got the blur. He's got the blur going on.
I mean,
so
you got the blur, and that helps. But if the background was to change to like a bright background, that text is unreadable.
Yeah, that is true, but it's up to the user to keep a dark background. But I'll tell you where the love of transparency came from. Jailbreaking the iPhone, there was a theme called Glass Clark back in the day, created by Max something. I fell in love with that theme. I started creating my own icons for it. And when I saw that KDE had that effect out of the box, I was like, KDE is my desktop. I'm done. Bye-bye. I don't care about anything else. But it's something that I love. But if you notice on the what's it called, Dolphin, it's not very transparent. It's only the terminal. So yeah. And I want to show something else. I don't know how to share the correct screen now. Switch screens, please.
Jitsy's kind of limited in some of the screen sharing stuff. If you're trying to pick a different monitor or something.
Honestly, if you're going to be screen sharing on Jitsi, the best option that you have is using the OBS Studio's virtual camera feature.
Yeah, but I'm not running.
Yeah, but he's not streaming this. We are. Right?
Of course, you can use. I'm using virtual camera from OBS to show this image of myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Switch screen. Come on. Okay, this one. Okay, share. F11. F11. So I modified the website.
Okay.
DT.
I can already tell you right now, I love your website so much better than I love Endeavor's website because it took me like 2.5 years to find the download button for the distribution, and I'm glad that you put it right there, front and center.
Yeah, it's called it's called CTA, Call to Action.
I agree, and it's built in an F shape on the website, so the reading.
I'm not gonna lie. Like Endeavor OS is like a distribution I wanted to check out for like the longest time, but I could never find the download button. And it's like, how do you expect anybody to use your distribution if you don't serve a download button that people can find?
It's very similar to Debian, where you have to click 10 different links to finally get to the ISO that you were looking for.
Oh, come on! I could go straight to Debian.org and find it. Look, right there, right there. That's the download button on Debian. It's right there on the front page.
Go grab the mini ISO.
This is.
Oh, why would I want the mini ISO when I could boot into the expert installer on Debian and get everything that I want anyway?
No, I want the mini ISO.
Debian mini ISO. Here's the alternative way of finding it. We Google it, right? Here we go. I already found it.
I want to use their website. Why not?
Basically, what I'm showing now is this is my everyday use. Multiple keyboards. Forget the second keyboard. The second keyboard.
To be fair, man, I've also.
Somebody. Did he drop off?
Yeah, he drops off.
Don't mind me. I accidentally just closed Jitsi, but I've got like multiple keyboard game going too. I even have a Wacom tablet, a game controller, 3 different mice plugged in.
But if you're going to post on r/Unix porn, you really need that triple monitor setup with the RGB keyboard, the RGB mouse.
So here's the thing. He cannot post on Unix porn because that's a violation of rule number 4 on Unix porn because he's shipping a distribution with the default settings of that wonderful theme.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And they also have that rule where you have to show a busy desktop. You can't just show your anime wallpaper. There's got to be a terminal running something on it.
Well, you need Kava, you need GoTop, you need a board feed,
NeoFetch, you need
C-Matrix,
the TTY clock,
and it needs to be either a super heavily themed GNOME, which will break on the next update, or a tiling window manager too, because people just don't look at KDE anymore.
Actually, there's a lot of KDE screenshots on r/Unix porn these days. Not, I won't say a lot, but you'd be surprised. They show up often.
Yeah, but
you don't see a lot of GNOME screenshots over there.
Well, anyway, that website is coming soon, and I'm still working on it. But it loads in less than 700 milliseconds.
Yeah,
I really the designer of the developer behind this is local to me, and he's doing an amazing job. He came out of the blue, and he was like, "I love Zero Linux. I want to donate something." I was like, "What? Money?" He was like, "No, better."
Yeah, I would say that's a lot better because if you'd have had to pay for that,
he was like,
that was
a proper website.
The only thing that could possibly be better than that is just a direct download button. Where like you go to zerolinux.com and it just automatically serves you to download right there. Just front and center, no website included. It just serves you straight an ISO image.
That's horrible UX.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That's
not what people go to a website for. They typically go there for documentation.
Yeah, just from a basic marketing perspective.
It's an Arch Linux distribution. Do you really need documentation from a website that's not the wiki?
Yes.
Yeah, of course you need it, because the modification that we do
Yeah.
to the distro, you need to handhold all the users on how to find those features.
Do you know how many times when I was running Manjaro, I had to go to Manjaro's site for like some of their specific tools and stuff that they include? Like there's things that are not in the Arch Wiki with Manjaro and Endeavor and Arco. Like you do have to go to their websites.
I mean, I wouldn't mind, because I just have a printout of the Gen 2 handbook myself.
Why?
Oh, that's sad.
That's actually not a bad idea. I wouldn't mind printing out like the entire Arch Wiki and maybe even getting it binded and
But
just
you
read
need,
it.
You need a matrix printer and those endless
What I have
paper
for
sheets.
what I have for the Arch Wiki is I have a dedicated web server that serves specifically the Arch Wiki on my local network.
Yeah. And yeah, Glade is for building GTK applications.
Yeah.
So Glade is like a what you see is what you get editor.
Yeah.
It allows you to create the window and the little widgets and things. Now, you still have to figure out what programming language you're going to use and bind all of that stuff together. I didn't bother with Glade. I could have used Glade. But since I was going to have to write some code anyway, I've always been one of those people. I don't like the WYSIWYG stuff.
I also like to write into code everything.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're writing a GTK application and you want to use C, GNOME Builder is actually pretty good.
Now, if you don't know anything about GTK, what I will say about Glade, it is a great way to figure out how all the widgets can go together. Because if you're new to GTK, you don't know all the widgets that are available, but in Glade, they're right there in a drop down. You can see, all the boxes and radio buttons and, various text tools and things like that. So it's a great way to learn what's available for you.
This is a great way for people like me who don't know coding and just
still need to know how to code.
Yeah, you're still gonna have to program something.
Yeah,
because it'll create the widgets, but it won't tell the widgets what to do.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Yeah, you will have to create your own little script.
You need the back end. This is just
to be fair, if you guys want like super hackery, like this is how we get a GTK UI, just hook Zenity in your Bash script.
Yeah, I mean you could do that.
That's a hacky way of doing it.
It's a hacky way of doing it, but
but a lot of people do.
GUI.
Yeah, a lot of people do. Well, if you need really, really simple stuff, a lot of people will just use something like Zenity or some of the other.
It's Zenity or KDialog. Just use one of the two because they're on basically every single.
And you just pipe your shell script or your Python script, whatever. Pipe the output into that little box and be done with it.
Yeah, I'll do you one better. Mm-hmm. The way I have an example of the PIA whatever. I already forgot.
Private internet access.
Don't use PIA.
No, not PIA. The post install application install.
Okay.
I just received an example from the developer that's working on it. It's written in ncurses.
Yeah.
And something I know you, Derek, kind of DTOS has ncurses. So.
No, I didn't use any of the ncurses libraries to create anything. It just runs straight in the terminal in the TTY. Yeah. But the ncurses is a library to write a application that runs in the terminal, but it's not command line output.
It's like a TUI.
Like HTOP. You know how HTOP, you type HTOP and you get a terminal interface? That's using the ncurses library.
Yeah, TUI. It's like a terminal user interface. We used ncurses to create the TUI, basically. Mm-hmm. I like the idea. I'm thinking to be more unique than other distros that provide proper GUI.
Yeah.
In your video where you compared Python to I forget which other one. You made the same application in two different languages.
Yeah, I did. Haskell and Python.
Yeah. I asked him, and he even did me another solid. He said, "I'll build you the ncurses version, and my son will build you the proper GUI version. You decide which one you want."
Yeah, ncurses application is very important if it's an application that you're going to have to run in a TTY or could possibly need to, like an installation of a distribution. That needs to be an Ncurses installer rather than a graphical installer, unless you know for sure you're going to be able to boot into a live environment and install, like the Calamares installer. But like a command line installer, probably you'd have to write that as an Ncurses installer.
Apps, it doesn't make sense to have TOI.
The reason for this is to provide users various applications in various groups. Like video editing, you get this list of applications. You check the box. I didn't want to go the route of MX Linux package installer because it's too similar. I will be accused of copy pasting and copying and whatnot. Creating something unique to Zero Linux.
Feel free to copy and paste. It's all free and open source software.
I know.
I mean, that's what it's.
We at Ubuntu Hut, we have something.
Hey man,
like
it's your GNU given right to do whatever the heck you
I'm
want.
like, literally, there isn't a distribution out there that's not doing the exact same thing as every other. Like, it's all free and open source software. I mean, that's where everybody gets their ideas.
That much more.
I mean, honestly, just look at how many Arch Linux distributions are out there that try to tagline of "Let's make Arch Linux easy."
Yes.
Yeah.
This is 100% correct. But I wanted just to change it a little bit, because I'm copy pasting everything. Basically, 90% of Zero Linux is a copy paste from different sources. I wanted to create something a little bit more unique that's not done to anything. So I'll give it a go, see if it works. If it doesn't work, but like Derek said, it's easy with Ncurses. At least if something happens and they need to run in the TTY, they can run the Ncurses script.
Right.
So yeah, Joshua, who wanted to speak?
I accidentally hit the button. That's all.
Oh, okay. But the whole idea is to have something to. But do you think Ncurses is a user friendly thing, or?
No, I mean, Ncurses has been around forever. Many Linux distributions still use Ncurses installers. I know Debian still has their Ncurses installer you can use, though they
the Ncurses installer makes perfect sense for like
Slackware uses a Ncurses installer still.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially for like when you're installing a distribution on a server.
Yeah, I had a lot of people asking if they can install Zero Linux on their what's it called? Linode server.
Why would they want to install that on a Linode VPS?
Yeah, that's
why would
that's
they
very
want to
strange.
install it on anything other than the desktop?
I don't understand it either because Linode uses no desktop.
I'm assuming they want an Arch server and they think, well, Zero Linux is easy to install. Let me just install that, but they don't understand.
That was a weird request. So
yeah, that's.
I was like, yeah, drop it, dude. You think,
what you do is just tell them to tell Linode to spin up an Arch Linux server, and then just enable like your repository, and then just install packages from your repository.
I don't have a Linode account, but do they just automatically spin up Arch servers, or do you have to install it yourself?
They offer an Arch Linux VPS that you can install. They even offer Gentoo.
Yeah.
Or you can create your own image.
Yeah, you can also create your own image and upload it.
Yeah, I was surprised that they offered Arch, but I installed it and I wanted to build Zero on it because that way I can offer a download link directly without having to upload and do all that stuff. But it didn't work. It kept failing because it had a dependency on on some stuff that was required to be installed on the system and running.
I've noticed a lot of these hosting providers these days. Arch has become kind of a common option for them to, as far as servers, because I think so many people have run into the problem of versions of, you're trying to install whatever it happens.
Not even that, DT. And you're partially to blame for this because all the Linux YouTubers these days are using Arch Linux. Like the only one that's not is like Learn Linux TV. He's the only YouTube creator.
Hey, you know why we're all running Arch Linux? You know why all the YouTubers are running Arch Linux? It's because many of the users are also running Arch Linux. Like have you looked around the community? There's a lot of Arch Linux users. I know it's kind of a joke by the way I use Arch Linux, but there's a lot of them out there.
I know why so many people are running
There are more
Arch Linux.
Ubuntu users. Because nobody's running Ubuntu.
On Ubuntu, I'm I spin up a lot of Ubuntu servers.
Okay.
I would never spin up an Arch server unless I had a real need to.
Big Pod, have you ever posted something positive about Ubuntu on Reddit?
Yes.
Huh?
Once, but I don't use Reddit. So.
Yeah. How many people shouted at you that Ubuntu is horrible and you should never touch it?
No, it was.
That's Reddit.
It wasn't.
Reddit don't count.
Reddit,
Yeah, Reddit.
Okay, Reddit kind of does count because you got to think of where like the normal people come from.
You never ask somebody.
Come from Reddit.
You can't ask people, hey, were people mean to you on Reddit or were people mean to you on Twitter? Well, yeah, that's Reddit. That's Twitter. I mean, of course they were.
I just broke my 15-year-old Razer headset. It's broken. 1 year it just fell off.
No, somebody broke their Razer product. It's not like that's always happened to me within 3 months after buying the product.
It's been with me
Razer
since,
products usually break themselves.
well, it's been with me since 2015.
Yeah.
It just broke. I don't know.
Well, I'm one of those people that I can get partial to certain things and never replace things. I still have an alarm clock that wakes me up every morning. I've had that same alarm clock since I was like 13 years old.
Well,
You bought it from Radio Shack? Is it like a classic Radio Shack? Cool.
It probably was bought from Radio Shack. Yeah, it was.
One thing that I really don't hate about Razer is that they run and sponsor the Open Razer project, which gives you this wonderful daemon with all these wonderful GUI clients to like manage their devices on Linux. And it's actually really amazing that we get like that level of manufacturer support because Rocat used to do that, but I can't find a download link for any of their software these days, it's always looked horrible.
And they have their own laptops now, not Linux laptop lineup.
Yeah, they just announced it, but honestly, I don't know how much that's actually going to sell.
Why would somebody buy a Razer laptop? Really?
Well,
Gamers.
because they're powerful.
Yeah, gamers especially.
Gamers.
Okay, so
That's it. And it's a market.
it's a nice, thin, super light laptop that has a desktop GPU in it that runs Linux.
I mean, my keyboards, these split keyboards are RGB, and when I post like pictures of them, and people don't know me, they assume I'm this hardcore gamer. Like they want to know what's your account name on Steam? What do you play?
And you use OpenRGB for the RGB?
Yeah, you can use OpenRGB to control the RGB lights on the Razer products too.
Yeah,
Well, you need at least 3 monitors and an RGB backlit keyboard for the girl.
Oh yeah, you have to have some LED strips above.
Yeah, and behind you, like in purple.
Monitor, so I'm not a true gamer.
No.
Waiting to order another one.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, kind of like that, but we can't post that anymore because that's the default theme on your computer, and as a result, you're also shipping a distribution with that default theme, so we can't post that on Unix.
You know what? You would probably get downvoted on r/Unix porn because you can actually see the individual LEDs. You need to hide them a little more, so it's more of a uniform lighting.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that the operating system running on that computer is Windows.
Yep.
I noticed that start menu. Yeah.
Yeah, that was taken ages ago before I got introduced to Linux.
I kind of just assumed that he made KDE look like Windows, which a lot of people.
By the way, that the wallpaper on that screen that was created completely by me in Wallpaper Engine on Windows, but it works on Linux as well when you run the KDE Wallpaper Engine plugin. But I created this from scratch. This reacts to the music that you're playing, and this is Darth Vader in the center created with and the stars and my logo and stuff like that. But I was heavy into Wallpaper Engine back then. But all that lighting is dead. It died 2 months after I bought them.
Oh yeah, those really cheap LED strips
I got them for $2.
They don't last at all. Yeah,
I got them for $2. By the way, the line you see on the outer screens, those were also animating to the music. Even the RGB lights on my keyboards, those were back in the day when I was hardcore into RGB, but now I don't care.
Oh, I see so many YouTubers buy these various lighting products that plug in via USB, and they flash.
Yeah,
with the game sounds, and then
my desktop has RGB RAM, and
In the
I'm
meantime,
already angry at it.
in the
Big
meantime,
Pop,
I
a
have
few months ago
more.
you said you were not going to use a window on your build because it's going to be a mess inside. What happened?
Well, it was cheaper to buy this case, ironically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's why I bought
That's
it.
what I realized as well. The gamer cases, the blingy ones, are actually
It is
The
badly
cheaper ones.
cheaper than
cheaper.
leak. Just
You can
simple
find them
black
on sale all the time. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking of removing the cover and putting on another side.
Well, you guys know that if you want a cheap computer case, you just go to the yard sale, buy the yard sale computer case, just rip the computers out of that, and just put your modern computer in the yard sale case. If you
No.
want a case that doesn't have a window,
No.
because all the brand new cases ship with Windows, unless
Yeah,
you're buying rack
cases
mount.
got Windows, but they are slightly more expensive, and I need to remove some cost somewhere because that GPU is expensive. And 64 gigs of
They're
RAM
all
are
expensive. You wouldn't have found a cheap one right now.
And 5900X is expensive, and and 1 terabyte PCIe 4x4 NVMe SSD is expensive. Everything is expensive,
Yeah, everything is
and I
increasing in
spend a lot of
price.
money.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to do a good sale in the store to get myself a proper Linux or not proper. I mean a proper laptop that supports Linux.
Any laptop supports Linux.
ThinkPads, old ThinkPad. Get them off of eBay.
Any
Well,
laptop supports Linux.
something a little bit more powerful because I want to build zero Linux on it. But speaking of which, I just remembered something. If any one of you ever tries to use KDE, there's a Kwin plugin that a user on Discord discovered. It's called Autocomposer. What that does, basically, whenever you maximize full screen an application, it kills the compositor, and you will have a wonderful experience, especially for gaming, because if you have in multiple monitor setup, if you don't disable the compositor on KDE,
It's one composition pipe. Yeah.
yeah, it will render at the slowest refresh rate monitor. But if you kill the compositor in when you go full screen in the game, you're gonna have full. Yeah, you will have full refresh rate on the monitor that the game is running on.
That makes sense, just to have it toggle on and off anytime you're full screen an application.
Yeah, this is
I
what
also
default.
have another thing to announce. I'm only running Linux, I don't have a dual boot.
Yay!
It looks like that cat is midair, Michael, behind you, because that is. I don't know if you can see. That cat looks like it's just hovering in midair.
Yeah, she's sitting on the top of my bedpost. She's sitting on the top of my bedpost.
Yeah.
So I'm Windows free.
Only Windows free,
finally.
And I'm running games on it. I'm running everything.
Mm-hmm.
There is a laptop with Windows somewhere, but it's in a glass case for that 3 uses a year that I have, like putting an ISO on USB because I like Rufus way too much.
Well, DT asked me during the interview a valid question about the Steam Deck and its effect on Linux. And I'm watching the process as it's happening. Adoption of Linux is growing really fast, much faster than
Thank
before.
you, Steam Deck, for making Proton useful. Thank you.
Yeah.
It works.
Yes, I totally. I mean, I just switched back because I was on Linux for 10 years, running crossover and running World of Warcraft, no problems. And I finally got back to it recently, and it's running World of Warcraft, no problems. And I wanted to run Phasmophobia in Steam, but it glitched in crossover, so I tried it under
Proton,
the compatibility layer with Proton. Works perfect. So I'm looking forward to trying other stuff.
I use Proton on World of Warcraft.
Yeah, and there's an application called Bottles.
Bottles, which is like a graphical front end to Proton and
I use whatever Lutris installs for me.
Yeah, let me tell you how to use World of Warcraft with Proton. You need to where you have add Steam games, you have on the bottom add non-Steam game, and you
Right.
go and select your Blizzard install exe, and it will automatically detect if you don't have it in the prefix. It will install Battle.net, or if you have it in the prefix, it will just run the Battle.net launcher.
Yeah,
It's
and Bottles allows
great.
all these via GUI, and it's amazing.
And
And
Steam runs those games great. Everything
yeah,
great.
Yep.
Recommend
but
it.
for
Agree.
Steam and Proton.
non-Steam games like retro games, for example, I found that the emulators themselves on Linux can be hit or miss. But if you do it via Bottles, for example, it runs much better. I don't know
Yeah.
what magic Bottles is doing in the background, but it does a better work of it than
Well, they probably, because they have all the
set
dependencies packaged.
defaults,
Right.
they set defaults for Wine, but this trick I just explained for World of Warcraft should run on basically any Windows program that can run in Wine.
Right.
Will through Proton, through adding a non-Steam game, run on your.
What he's trying to say is Microsoft Office should run under Proton.
I think it should.
Yeah.
I think
and
if I took
Photoshop.
enough time,
Photoshop, more important.
Well, I do
Photoshop
have a
will not.
license somewhere.
no.
We can try
Photoshop,
Big
because
Boss.
it has to connect to Adobe's servers, doesn't it?
Even then, Photoshop technically should run some versions, but not the latest one.
Photoshop
Yeah.
will never run on Linux under Wine because it has a hard dependency on Windows kernel commands,
Oh,
which
yeah.
Wine cannot translate.
I was just gonna say, what if we use the hardy har version?
Well, we're coming up on the end of the 2 hours here, so let's have everyone take a second to give us parting words or some words of wisdom. Big Pod, you got anything for us?
Run Ubuntu Mate is the best.
I'm going to check it out soon.
You should.
Yeah, because I did the main flagship edition, and I liked it. I want to check out especially Kubuntu and Mate.
That's the only thing I'll run now.
Yeah. Nice. Well, appreciate you hanging out with us, Big Pod, and congratulations on the big release of Ubuntu Mate. I know you put in a lot of work on that too. So, all right, Dark Zero, give us some last words, sir.
Well, this time I'm not going to be pushing Zero Linux. I'm just going to push the whole idea of Linux as a whole. Linux is a wonderful world to discover, and don't think it's hard, because you're going to find support everywhere you look. If not on the communities of the said distro that you want to use, you can ask anywhere. Even if it's not unrelated to the distro, you will find help, because the community is a loving community, and most of it, and you'll find the likes of Derek, videos from the likes of Derek and Eric and a lot of other people. You're gonna find the answer to your issue. Basically, what I'm saying in short, don't be afraid to try Linux. If you're not gonna try it on bare metal, try it on a VM. Dip your toes into Linux. It's a worthy replacement for Windows. If not at first, you once you get used to it, slowly, trust me, you'll be switching to Linux, because it's wonderful. It's superb.
All right, thanks for hanging out with us. And of course, we've got Hip Dad and his cat. I should have brought my cat to the office today.
Yeah, that's Linux. That's Lenny.
Lenny.
Yeah, I named him after Linux. Picked him up through Facebook, and they said, "What's his name?" And they said Lenny. I said, "Well, just change the E to I, and we got it." Because I've always named my cats after computer stuff. If you are gaming on Linux, you only have two screens: 55-inch TV main screen and 47-inch left-hand screen. So you can have Discord on one side and gaming on the other. And I'm glad to be back to Linux. And once I figure out the mysterious Zorg, I'll be complete.
Zorg. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Josh, give us some last words about Gen 2.
Okay. Yeah. So if you want to install Ubuntu Mate, just make sure that you don't enable the Mozilla PPA to install the native package build for Firefox, and then proceed to enable the PPA for Pipewire, and then try to switch to Pipewire, because you will currently crash your system right now. I've already filed the bug report and everything for it. But in the meantime, though, if you guys want to dedicate your life to a single installation of a distribution, because you will hate yourself if you ever accidentally blow it up again, install Gen 2.
And just some advice for those of you that for some reason hate Firefox as a snap. LibreWolf is out there, and it's available as a Flatpak, as an app image, and it might, I don't know if it's available in the Ubuntu repositories, I doubt it, but the app image works. I can verify that.
Also available.
Yeah.
I also have another recommendation. Just don't care.
Yeah.
Like I just did a browser study. You got 5% using Brave, 5% using Chromium, and the rest are all using Firefox.
That's heavily weighed because it is mostly Linux users.
Yeah. And almost all Linux distributions default to Firefox, and most users won't change the defaults. So,
yeah.
Michael, give us some last words, sir.
Was that me?
That was you, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I broke up a little bit there. Yeah, this is my first Jitsi chat, and it actually worked well. Appreciate you, Derek. You've been helpful for me specifically. Finally have my system up and running, as I've said in the other chat. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. And nice cat.
Thank you.
Everybody brought the cats today. Stefan, would you like to say some last words, sir?
Well, appreciate hanging out with you here, guys. Thanks for your time and the opportunity to talk and discuss with you. I just have to append one last thing. So OpenBSD just released their 7.1 version, and all the real flexers and rappers, they install their OpenBSD on their laptops. Though running Linux on the main machine, tinkering a little with C and Rust.
I got some spicy news about OpenBSD. They are working on app image support.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they've been working on that for a little while. Once they have the proper use file system support, then app images should work.
They are at like alpha stage right now for the Fuse file system support for app images.
And that will unlock so many applications for BSD that just aren't available now.
That might actually encourage me
on your laptop. It's a great choice, actually. If you have some time to tinker, I dug a little into it, and can only recommend that. But aside from that, keep tinkering, stay metric, and stay skeptic, and really appreciate hanging out here with you guys.
All right, thanks, Stefan. Brandon, would you like to give us a last word on our way out?
Yes. Hey, I also am a first-time Jitsi user, first-time Patreon, actually. So
appreciate it. Yeah, I'm surprised all the new folks that joined us this time. Everybody had no problems joining with their camera and microphones, and everything just worked. So
yeah, it's weird sometimes like that, I guess, but. Yeah, thanks to everybody who was able to listen to me, and sorry about all the noise and things sometimes. I'm living with other family members who can get pretty noisy at times, so once again, sorry about that. But thanks for the suggestions on which IDEs to go out and use. I'll definitely be... I mean, I know about Qt Designer. I have not checked out Glade yet, but
there is but one true answer in life, and that is no. That is called pick one and shut up.
well, obviously, Qt Designer and Glade are designed for two different things, so it'll depend on what you're wanting to do there.
Also, depending on what programming language I'm thinking of using.
Yeah, because that really affects your choice of IDEs a lot. All right, Brendan. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. And Commander Angry, are you there? Would you like to give us a last word on your way out? I don't know if he's connected or not. Well, if he connects, he can give us a last word in just a second. I'll give my last word. I want to thank everybody hanging out on camera. We had a couple of folks that were here earlier that dropped off before the end of the stream. Thank you guys for hanging out with me on camera. Thank you guys in the YouTube chat. Your questions and comments are always greatly appreciated. I know we didn't interact with the chat too much this time around. I do apologize for that. I'm going to show some names on the screen. These are the patrons, some of which could not be here on camera with us today. So I want to thank each and every one of these fine ladies and gentlemen. And other than that, wave bye to YouTube.
Just remember, guys, it's your GNU given right to break Ubuntu.
JavaScript.